Is Canada becoming a third world country? Canada's surging cost of living fuels reverse immigration. The dream of making it big in Canada is turning into a battle for survival for many new immigrants due to high cost of living and rental shortages, as rising immigration numbers hint at newcomers being forced to turn their back on a country they chose to make their adopted home. Trudeau's made immigration his main weapon. To blunt Canada's big challenge of an aging and slowing population. We're talking 500,000, a million people a year. Crazy immigration numbers, given the 40 million population. But now a reversal of that trend is gradually taking hold. First 6 months of 2023, some 42,000 individuals departed Canada, adding to 93,000 in 2022 and 85,000 in 2021. So that's actually like it's on par for the last 3 years, basically. 100,000 people leaving, 500,000 coming in, or a million. The rate of immigrants leaving Canada hit a 2-decade high in 2019. Although if you're looking at absolute numbers, that's to be expected since the population's growing. Number went down during the lockdown. That makes sense. People weren't traveling. Well, this is a fraction of the 263,000 who came to over to the country over the same period. He's talking about maybe first half of 2023. For a nation built on immigrants, a rising trend of people leaving Canada risks undermining one of Prime Minister Trudeau's government signature policies, which granted permanent residency to a record 2.5 million people in just 8 years. So yeah, around the 500,000 mark. And here we've got this graph, people leaving by the quarter. So more and more people choosing to leave Canada. They're finding it hard to pay rent, and a lot of the jobs aren't paying that well. A lot of the jobs are, and if you can get a good job, then you're in a good position. But if you're grinding minimum wage, and not even full-time, a lot of the jobs are part-time, or like 24 hours a week or something, that's going to be really tough to afford rent, groceries, and have any sort of a life. And, not a huge thing, but a trend anyway. And blah, 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 blah. Last month, Trudeau government capped its target for new residents at 500,000. Here we go. I got a story from a guy from Lithuania. He wanted to pursue a doctorate. Now he's thinking Southeast Asia. Yeah, I mean, have you seen the Canadian winter? Also, we've got new tax hikes in the form of CPP premiums. They just don't seem super onerous. Looking like a 4-cent hike for every $100 earned by employers, and then a 3-cent hike for every $100 earned by employees. The premium rate. Keep in mind, only like 2.5% of your salary goes to EI. So it's not a huge hike, but, obviously it's bad. They already take so much money off our paychecks every month, every week, 2 weeks, whenever you get a paycheck. Max CPP contributions are going up as well, very slightly. They're also instituting a second CPP ceiling. The other thing is that, so it's going up 3 cents for the employee and 4 cents from the employer. But the reality is that's all paid by the employee in the form of lower wages. And some major storms going on across Canada. Heavy snows, gusty winds, freak thunderstorms, and temperatures bobbing up and down. Meanwhile, labor unrest in Quebec. Hundreds of thousands of public sector workers have shut down schools, and they're causing delays in healthcare. 420,000 workers in education, healthcare, and social services started a week-long strike on Friday, demanding pay raises and better working conditions. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're all overpaid. Public sector in Canada, way too big. In Quebec, way too big. And a lot of the other provinces, Alberta, ends up paying the tab for all this social spending. I mean, they were offered a 12% pay increase over 5 years. That seems pretty reasonable, especially when you consider a lot of the compensation, especially for teachers, comes in the form of benefits. The fact they only have to work three quarters of the year. They got a lot of time off, ton of holidays. More proof that the broken system of socialized medicine in Canada isn't working. As of Tuesday, there were more than 13,500 people in Quebec who've been waiting for surgery for more than 1 year. That's what's going to happen with socialized medicine. You're going to ration healthcare because there's only the political will to pay so many taxes. Taxes keep going up. People are sick of it. They can't hike them anymore. Well, then the only other option is to ration medicine. And that's why a market system is so much better, because with the price system, you don't have to do any rationing. I mean, public sector unions are such a bane on the existence of the taxpayer. Apparently, there was a stabbing at a Best Buy in Toronto. They went into Best Buy. They tried to take something without paying, and an off-duty police officer tried to stop them and got stabbed. They then took off in a minivan, but no surprise, these idiots are known to police already, and they got their photos, they got arrest warrants. It's only a matter of time until they end up committing some other crime, getting caught, and hopefully thrown in jail for a long time. They look like real degenerates. Alright, finally some good news. Stadium in Centennial Park could be renamed for Toronto's greatest mayor of all time, Rob Ford. Ford was a 3-time city councilor, only served 1 term in mayor, as a video of him smoking crack with some Somali Canadian individuals surfaced and scuttled his chance of re-election. Also, he used to be a hashish dealer. So the European Union wants to regulate artificial intelligence. AI has been a huge topic ever since the release of ChatGPT, an incredible form of artificial intelligence that can handle coding, translation. You can ask it problem-solving questions. It's really incredible, especially with the latest generation, ChatGPT 4, and some of the other innovations they're coming up with. This is a massive new industry, tens of billions of dollars being invested, huge server farms set up, and it's leaving some people wondering how dangerous is this new technology if we're going to have artificial intelligence that rivals human intelligence. Is this the dawn of the singularity, and where does it end? I've worked with ChatGPT myself, doing rudimentary coding problems, and you can use it to write a novel. It's really incredible, some of the stuff that it does. Now, it's not quite artificial intelligence. It doesn't think for itself. What it does is it's a neural network trained on specific data sets that basically tries to predict the answers that humans would give. But it's incredible how quickly, and this is just the rudimentary form of it that we're seeing. I mean, the potential for this technology can be incredibly transformative already. People are worried that it's going to be wiping out their jobs, their careers, completely replace them. As a matter of fact, myself personally, I used to do a fair amount of content creation for websites, writing blog posts inexpensively, charge 1 cent, 2 cent a word, and you can make, $50, $100 a day even, if you're really busting your ass, but now ChatGPT does that in a flash and produces pretty good quality work. Now, there are still some telltale signs of dealing with ChatGPT, so its most efficient use is actually when combined with a human author ChatGPT is great for getting like an outline, and filling in some details, and then the human author can sort of pick that up and run with it, and then ChatGPT can edit. It's incredible, actually, the synergy when you're working with that, especially for more basic content needs. It's still not going to replace an expert, and it's not going to necessarily give you that detailed analysis that a human who is well trained in the subject can do, at least at this stage. Like I said, still very early on. The other cool thing is that, we're not just limited when it comes to these AGI models or artificial intelligence models to ChatGPT or Bard or Bing. Those are the main. Microsoft has their version, Google has their version, OpenAI has their version. But actually, you can set up an AGI on your computer system. It does require a high amount of VRAM, so you're going to need a high-end graphics card if you want to get a really solid model working. But actually, it's incredible, some of the stuff that you can set up on your computer and have it generating information. I think this is going to be really big for companies. You can feed all your private data that you might not want to give away to Microsoft or whatever. You want more security, but on these closed system models, and then in a blink of an eye, you can interrogate it about where are expenses, what's our highest profit margin. You can just for a huge data set. I think this could be a real game changer for a lot of employers, businessmen, entrepreneurs. Now, back to the regulation aspect. So, the EU apparently is not concerned with deep fakes, which is the ability to create these artificial images of, say, a politician doing something, bad or whatever, just creating somebody else's image. And right now, most of the free or free AI art generators aren't that great at humans anyway, although that's going to change. Well, it's unclear what jurisdiction the EU has to really regulate artificial intelligence anyway. I mean, OpenAI is a company registered in Delaware. Of course, a lot of companies register in Delaware for tax reasons, but they're an American company, so I don't think that the EU is going to be able to regulate them necessarily, although Google and Microsoft do a lot of business in the EU, so their versions of the AI might have to become EU compliant with the regulations. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is announcing his re-election campaign. He's expected to win quite steadily. There's a lot of irregularities in the last Russian election. A lot of people have said that these are not free and fair elections. You've got political dissidents being jailed, political opponents being cracked down on, reporters being assassinated. So Putin looking like more and more an autocratic dictator rather than a leader of a free country. Russia, of course, bogged down with its war in Ukraine, unable to make substantial progress despite the disparity in country size. Perhaps a large factor in that is all of the aid, hundreds of billions of dollars of aid in military equipment, which the United States and other countries have been sending to Ukraine. Putin has been in power for 23 years, if you count the 2008 to 2012 period when Dmitry Medvedev was the official president. High-speed rail coming to Oregon? Not exactly. Joe Biden, however, is spending $500,000 US to study the prospect and investing an additional $8 billion in rail infrastructure across the country. Me personally, I love railways. I wish Canada had more of them. Best way to travel, bar none. Meanwhile, some guy tried to cross the Nepalese-Indian border with a fake visa and got 2 years in prison. Who wants to go to India anyway, let alone risk 2 years in an Indian prison? Oh my God, that would be unbearable. Food inflation forecast to be between 2.5 to 4.5%, compared with 6% for 2023. The highest rate of food inflation was 11.4% year over year in September 22, which is, wow, that is very high. Unfortunately, meat is going up 5 to 7%. Dairy only 1 to 3%, perhaps because of the all-powerful supply management system, which, frankly, should be abolished, should have been abolished a long time ago. The government should not be setting the prices of food. Let's have a free market. Let's get supply and demand working for us instead of kowtowing to the dairy lobby. Maybe we just don't have enough farmers in this country. Has anyone considered that? Not enough farmers, not enough ranchers, not enough small family farms that produce in a sustainable manner with limited emissions. Bank of Canada Deputy Governor says high immigration linked to inflation. Well, duh. I don't think you need a PhD in economics to understand that if you have 1 million immigrants or 500,000 coming to this country, supply and demand, they're bidding up the prices of stuff. A lot of these guys aren't being employed in manufacturing or other industries. If they're employed at all, a lot of them are students. Because of the selection process, not a ton of them are working in construction or these other industries that are producing goods and services, manufacturing industry, resources industry. You know, they all want to live in Toronto, get tech jobs, making 6 figures a year. They're all working, trying to work Subway in the meantime just to make ends meet. Bank of Canada keeping the interest rate at 5%, still trying to get that inflation down. Selling, when the Bank of Canada wants to target a higher interest rate, what they do is they sell off government bonds. This decreases the money supply and should push the interest rate up. Since the money supply is decreased or the increase slows, then this should cut down on inflation. Inflation down to 3.1% from a peak of in October, from a peak of 8.1% in June 2022. But the problem is that our housing supply has not kept pace with the increases in immigration. Well, why? Because of regulations that prohibit the construction of anything but single-family homes in an effort to drive up home prices. The problem is that so many Canadians own their own homes. This is a massive power block, and so they pursue policies that increase their home value, but that comes at the expense of renters or people that don't own homes, people that are looking for an apartment, that want to move. It's hard to find anywhere affordable because they don't allow builders to build, especially the missing middle, and but also, you know, high volume condominiums. Really, this is the failure of regulatory policy, and they need to scrap these zoning laws, and for the very least, allow builders to build more housing. And that is our news for today.